Yep. Aroz is currently just looking like a chair.
Yes, I think he's sitting in a different spot. Is he sitting on it? Or are they just going?
Aroz a little camera shy for now.
Yeah, we're gonna go and let's do the. Okay, so Mulligan's in, and got the Pirate Warrior, and it looks like we got Reno Lock up at the top.
Ah, so we've got Bill starting off with his pirate warrior then.
Yes, and I think this matchup, he's got like Aroz has got Reno in his hands, so that gives him a lot of time to sort of be a little bit less anxious about what's going to happen. But
Absolutely.
I still think that without the proper board clears, um, I think that Bill could probably run away with this.
Yeah, the frothing's extremely strong. That may be the card based on the fact that we can see these hands. Although, um,
Having the Demon Wrath is okay, but it doesn't clear anymore.
the Demon Wrath is great, generally speaking, but I think that corruption that he picked up off of that peddler actually may end up potentially having some big impact there. I've seen that come a lot more popular as a pick from peddler these days, and that could potentially hold him off long enough to get to that Reno. Looks
So
like
what would you do
Aroz.
here if you're Aroz?
Personally, I'm looking at that corruption for sure. I think you want to basically put corruption on that frothing. It's pretty much the strongest card that your pirate warriors got. I think this is, yeah, this is probably fine.
And now if you're Bill, do you just keep going and ignore everything and just keep going face?
Yeah, I think what Bill's doing right here with the upgrade, and then it looks like he,
Getting that value for free blood Dread Corsair.
yeah, mini version of Thing from Below is never too bad, and neither is 12 damage on a stick with a War Axe. So
I mean, I've had games that end before turn 6 as against, these pirate decks. So Aros might not be able to get there unless he holds off a little bit more damage.
yeah, I think Aroz may have just made a bit of a mistake there. Then again, it's always a preference call, and his play here certainly isn't bad. I think maybe Demon Wrathing there and just clearing the 3/3 with the Mortal Coil may have been
Or a
better.
slightly better play.
Yeah, I think that may have been slightly better. This is perfectly fine, and it may be equal in how good of a play it is, but I think you want to remove that 3/3 off board if it's me.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage going to face. And he has one more turn to stall, and he has taunts. So we've got, we
Yeah,
basically got a
actually,
calculus of whether he taunts up and feels like he can survive and then have a better board to clear. And Bilge there doesn't go face, decides to maybe save himself from a Shadow Flame.
yeah, true, true. That's always an extremely hard decision to make from the Pirate Warrior perspective, in my opinion. It's really hard to determine whether or not you're going to trade there. You protect the 3/3, but you're losing that face damage right there, so it's a
Yeah.
tough call. Also, when it comes down to Aroz's play the previous turn, I just feel like if he had gone with the Demon Wrath Mortal Coil, what he could have done this turn is gone for the Earthen Ring Farseer and taunted it up with the Sun Fury. So,
Hmm.
in my opinion, that may have been a little bit of a misplay.
It's hard to know, right? It's hard to know where you're at. Let's hope he doesn't discard Reno.
Oh,
And all right, that's always so risky
oh
playing
yeah.
Soulfire. I don't even run Soulfire in Reno because I Reno a lot because I think it's too risky to discard something that you really really need at the right time. And obviously you want that burst, but I think that like getting it off of Peddler might be a better preference than actually running it.
Yeah, I've been told by some very good players that that's the case. I'm currently running it in mine because I'm running a combo Reno, and I do like having that extra reach sometimes in the mirror as well. But it's definitely on the chopping block. I would agree for sure in terms of a card to actually run in a slot.
Bill's playing slightly conservative here. I think he knows that there must be a Reno, but the question is whether Eros is actually going to pull it out. I think you have to. You got to know that there's at least, you know, potential lethal in hand.
Yeah, I think not playing Reno over here would be extremely ballsy, maybe even a little bit too risky. He did top deck the small time
The
bruiser.
Taunter,
Is that yeah?
the second rate
Second rate.
second
Yeah,
rate
yeah.
bruiser. Still
Forget
learning
names
all these
sometimes.
names.
Small time Buccaneer, second rate bruiser. I don't know.
They're all
Wow.
there.
So
He doesn't do it. He just
that's
holds them out one more turn, thinks he can get a little bit
I,
of value
I
from
I
it.
have to say, not to be overly critical, but I think that I see what he's thinking there. You develop the Reno, and you're still going to be having a lot of damage pushed the following turn, but I
And
feel
it's a
like
strong read. Like, what does he think he has? Like, if uh, Bill had a charger of any
yeah,
sort.
there's a massive amount of outs for Bill at this point, especially with three cards in hand. If we look at the amount of damage he's able to push here, um, he only needed seven, so I don't know.
And
Maybe it
maybe it
was
was good.
correct.
Maybe it was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now he gets a better Reno
Again,
next
hard to
turn.
say. Bill is sitting with double N'Zoth first mate, and he top decked the small time Buccaneer. So
Right.
maybe if he had top decked a heroic strike and a
Yeah, there you go.
mortal strike, it would have been a big punish. Also, furthermore, I feel like he's still pushing a massive amount of damage,
Right. You
even with
still
this
got to
board
clear
state
this
in the
board.
Reno.
Yeah.
So did he really do that much by postponing it a turn? I'm not sure. I don't think it was as bad as I initially thought, though. It was definitely a acceptable play, I would say.
All right. Well, we've got an MCT. That's always good. But there's really only two. It's a 50-50 of whether you get something good, right? You
That's
can
true.
get. You don't really want the Buccaneer because you don't have a weapon, and it becomes a 1-2. So you want the. I mean, ideally you get the Charger, but
Yes,
we're gonna see what what goes
he
down
does opt
here.
for.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the RNG. You got it. I think he might actually be able to clear and bring this game back.
Yeah, that was an extremely big swing play.
That's huge.
He's
He
also
still has
got.
mana for Demon Wrath, but he's not going to play it this turn. I think he's just going to try to burn him out with minions and save his removal for. I don't know what you're saving that Demon Wrath for, but maybe just to keep your minions alive.
I guess he just felt it wasn't really necessary, particularly in this case, and didn't line up with his board. Normally,
Hmm.
the Shambler, in my experience, as a 4/6 taunt or more, is extremely backbreaking for the Pirate Warrior. It's very very tough for Bill to actually mount any sort of comeback here against.
Yeah, this is really tough. You have the pirates, but I don't think he's. I think
Another
at this
interesting thing is it looks like Aroz just top decked a corruption, so I guess he's
he
running
does run
corruption. He
corruption
took
in
the
his own
corruption,
deck,
so it's a lot of corruption.
running it in his own deck. And now he's got a dirty right. He's got more taunts. I feel like the Reno log might have just pulled it out there, even with the plays that we didn't really know if they were optimal at the time. I think Aros is finally stabilized, which
Yep,
is, I mean, that's like this is where the Reno lock wants to be. And if you can't kill him by turn 6, I think it's really tough for the Pirate Warrior to come back once Reno lock finally gets answers and gets their threats out. It's in a really tough position.
absolutely. I feel that
And just
Aroz had quite a strong hand from the
Bill
start there.
just concedes there. I think that's I mean why drag it out? Why drag out the
Yeah,
pain?
it was over. It was over. I think that was a case of both decks having a pretty strong hand. I think you really do need, like you said, one of those extremely strong, pretty much turn five lethals for the most part to end up beating a a Reno if they end up playing the Reno. It's
Right.
very hard to kill them again once they've gained all the health.
All right. So if that's Conquest, what are we out? Bill is out of the. He needs to win with that, and Aroz is no longer playing Warlock.
Um, that that appears.
I think that was a miss. I think that was a miscue. I don't think.
Oh, yeah, what it appears happened there, it looks like Aros accidentally queued up his shaman, which was banned. I guess
Right.
we'll see whether or not
Whether or
they
not
kind
there's a
of.
punishment for that.
Right, yeah.
I
That
mean,
that could result in a game loss in very strict tournaments. We'll see how they handle it here.
I think they're gonna let him go. I mean, there's no information he gains right from this
Yeah,
because he
right,
just queued
right,
in.
right. I mean, sticklers on an online tournament may screenshot that and
Yeah.
try to sneak a win off of that. Normally, your sportsman like players would probably let them slide there.
All right. Here we go. We're looking at aggro v aggro.
Oh, yeah.
And drawing patches is never great. It's always tough. But look at this golden deck. Like, look at all these cards. Just running golden patches.
Golden patch is the sign of a true smorker. I
Yep.
crafted it day one before even trying the card out. That's a true fact.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be
You're
so
just
good. I
like, yeah.
immediately crafted it golden. I knew it was going to be
How much
bananas.
dust is that? Like 3,200?
Something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
3,200
I
dust?
took a leap of faith there, but I was definitely rewarded. I had a feeling.
Yeah, 3
I thought it was only going to be busted in Pirate Warrior, but ended up being more value.
busted in everything.
Yeah.
So when do you give out the game that patches is in your hand? I think you still play out your pirates and just go for, And now I think Aroz knows that Patches is not in the deck.
Indeed.
But he doesn't actually necessarily. So Aroz doesn't. His hand is a little bit tricky because there's not much to do. He doesn't want to play out everything. He's got a good hero power now, but you don't have any weapons. You've got sort of like your late game reach removal. And you don't want to. I don't think you want to play out the Buccaneer without a weapon.
Yeah, I agree. The lack of weapon is really probably what's hurting Aroz right now. And as far as Bill's first turn there, um, it's a tough call, but
I think he's gonna
potentially
play it
holding coin
anyways.
for frothing was kind of tempting for me. I'm not sure. It's really tough to navigate the games when you have patches in hand, I feel,
Yeah,
because
it just doesn't. It creates sort of awkward turns where you could be getting something for free and you're just not doing it. I mean,
interesting.
he's gonna get his
Okay.
patches to trade. No, he's gonna keep it. He's gonna let the Buccaneer live a turn.
Hmm. This is a interesting line. I'm not.
I mean, essentially, when you're playing these aggro decks, it's almost like you're playing a control deck because you're
Oh
trying
yeah,
to control the minions on the board.
yeah. It's all about board for sure, but like you said, he did sort of just offer up his Buccaneer here as a
Right.
free trade. It's tough to determine a lot of the time whether or not that ends up being worth it. In this case, the deckhand trades for it. Oh, that's a big top deck for Aroz there.
Yeah,
The
he can
first
finally
mate.
get something on the board and clear. So next turn for Bill, it's pretty much only frothing, unless he gets something else.
Well, that's a nice curve.
Yeah,
As we
offers.
can see, he has the answer.
He does have the answer, but it would be good otherwise. And I feel like we're gonna reach a point very soon where players are just top decking and drawing because like these decks move so fast through their cards, and there's not. I mean, what do you use to draw really in
Oh,
these decks?
nothing. I don't think there's
Nothing.
any card draw. You're definitely in a lot of top decking situations when it comes to Pirate Warrior. But it's really those few opening turns there where you're kind of
Hmm.
exchanging your pawns of minions where I really feel that some more experienced players can get an edge during those turns. Maybe even if you have the patches in hand, just knowing how to fully optimize all of your weapon swings, your one
Yeah, yeah,
attack
yeah.
dinks, and all of that, and just getting the full value there.
And now we got the cultist coming out and buffing the weapon. Or actually, it doesn't buff the weapon because it doesn't have the. It's just out
Yeah,
there as
just
a
playing a
3/4.
spider tank
Yeah.
pirate here. It makes sense.
Spider
I think
tank
that's
pirate.
correct.
So as Bill, do you try to take out the? Do you use the heroic strike to take out the cultist, or do you try to develop your blood circles there, knowing that it's probably going to get traded into and not do any face damage?
Well, um, Aroz has the War Axe out here. Yeah,
It's still. I
I
mean,
like
it's
this
gonna.
line.
Yeah, it's gonna go to his face if unless he chooses to trade his cultist in.
Yeah,
Now he picks up the Arcanite Reaper, and they're both. And Araz is getting pretty low as far. I don't think he's actually gonna take the face damage. I think he's gonna try to trade his minion in.
yeah, I agree. It's a little bit too risky for him to really face tank this here because he doesn't have the warrior hero power anymore.
It's true.
So, Bill's got him on a clock for sure.
And yeah,
If
he takes
Bill's got
decides to chain.
7, so he's basically at 7 given what
Hmm.
we see Bill here have here. So, Bill's only a couple nice damage top decks away from pushing lethal. We can see obviously Aroz got a ton of burst in hand too, so
Right.
it's looking like a race of a game at this point for sure.
I think you just smork it all the way down.
Okay, so A-Rod's developing the Arcanite Reaper here. I guess what that sets him up for is he could potentially deal 14 next turn out of his hand. I mean, not enough to put Bill on a much of a clock, so it's actually looking fairly okay for Bill. I don't know if that top deck was really much good, the Buccaneer. That seems pretty
I
weak.
think it's either he's just hoping that Araz does start keeps trading and doesn't necessarily push for face, but I think it's looking like Araz is just gonna go for the face and forget the trading. Or do a little bit of both. A bit of both here.
Ah, A-Rod's, yeah, going for the middle
Assuming,
ground
yeah.
play here.
Assuming that he just expects Bill to
Ooh, does that do it?
try to trade with his
That does it. I
face.
think Bill has lethal.
That's 7 with 6. Yep, that's it. So close.
So yeah, I mean that's Bill managed to get there with the patches in hand. I think he may have made well, yeah. I mean I guess that's just an example. A weak hand with maybe just Mortal Strike and not very proactive stuff can be beaten by a patches hand that does have a little bit more of a
Yeah, I
proactive
think it was
opener.
really tough for Aroz to draw sort of your late game reach in the hand and not be able to answer all of the tiny little threats that come by. You're right. The early game turns, those turn one, turn two plays, are kind of what decides it when these mirror
That's
matches.
why it seemed like he'd be in a really good spot. I mean, when you consider you grab a Finley, 1/3 minion really contests a lot of the Warriors' openers quite nicely, and then you take the Fire Blast on top of that, and he has patches in hand. It seemed like it might be winnable for Aroz, but Bill manages to get there with some nice top decks with the damage.
Yeah. Okay, so that leaves the warrior out for, let's see, is that Aroz?
Yeah, no, no.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
so Bill just managed to get a win with his Warrior,
there you go. And so
and
now we're
so
queuing
so
back in.
far Aroz has found a win with his. What did Aroz win with?
Aroz won with the
The Warlock.
warlock.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yep.
And I think that Bill is bringing Zoo.
Wow, is that really? I guess that's why he didn't want to tell me what decks he was
He wasn't
bringing.
wasn't bringing. He was just like, I don't want to let people know what is going on. So I was wrong. I guess we are gonna see some interesting.
Can I click on that for? I just want to see. Oh wow. Okay, cool.
We're gonna see some interesting non-standard decks here, or
Yeah,
rather, standard decks that are not exactly what you'd expect.
I
Bill's
wonder if Bill's
aggro.
been testing and seeing how Zoo lines up with some of these decks where maybe some of us have written it off
That's
and we don't
true.
know how it lines up.
So he's playing Darkshire Librarian here, and I expect that means he's got other discard synergies going on against the Miracle Rogue with a really strong hand of answers, but patches. So we're gonna get some.
Wow, that's a potential
Yeah, we'll see.
big
That's a
top deck.
50-50. 50-50 to go for Wtybill picking
Yeah,
up the.
and he goes for it
And he
and
gets
he
it.
gets rewarded.
That is a strong turn three there. Look,
Extremely good there. Freeing up the Soulfire, which was kind of tied up and being discarded as well. That's a big play. Looks like Zoo is a little more OP than we thought.
we have a. The Rogue's hand is just developing rather slowly. I'm not sure what you do here. We've got patches in hand. We've got some conceals. We got coins, cold bloods. It's just not a. There's just nothing there to really answer this. I guess you run your patches in. You can sort of get some Shadow Strike. You might have to Shadow Strike a 3/3,
Yeah.
but he's sort of got his late game stuff here. Doesn't manage to get an early game Pirate. Gets patches in hand. It's really tough for Aros to sort of, you know, take back the board.
Yeah, Aroz has a really heavy hand here for sure. I think with the double coin in hand, I may have been inclined to, like you said, maybe Shadow Strike that 3/3 on that turn right there. It may be too defensive, but
I don't know. You're
he's under
taking
a
a
lot of
lot of
pressure.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
pressure, a lot of damage. And it's like, how do I play against this?
This
I
Blood
haven't
Imp could
seen this.
actually. Whoa.
Goes
It looked
going
like
for.
he was blasting his own Darkshire Librarian for a second.
No, he's going for it. He's got. This is a turn five lethal from the zoo. Unless Aroz can manage something, I don't know, like hope draw something off of like get a backstab off of the Azure Drake, but that's not gonna save you.
Yeah, looking at Aroz's hand at the moment, the only thing that's jumping out to me that looks like even a bit of an option would be to double coin out the Gadget Zan and
And
then
then do
prep
what?
the Shadow Strike
Prep,
on one
prep
of
the
the
Shadow
guys. It looks
Strike.
like that's what he's going for.
Yeah. All right, here it goes. This is what Miracle's for.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got a few top decks that could really keep this turn rolling. He needs either another prep or maybe another counterfeit coin if he's running that.
Yeah, which I don't think he gets here. Oh, he gets a
Wow,
backstab. There
backstab.
you go.
Forgot
That's
that. So he can keep the turn going with that. That's a very strong draw for sure.
if he can get another backstab, but I don't think he can. So that saves him for at least another round.
Wow, so he's going to
Willingly
kill
take
that.
another piece of damage, and maybe he's hoping that Zoo runs out of sort of threats. Like he's got two draws, and that would have been so close to lethal had he had the mana for it to get the taunts on
Yeah.
the up. But that's gonna be really good on the next turn. And the
Yeah,
question is whether Miracle can stabilize at this point. I mean, he basically has to clear the board and make sure that the zoo just doesn't have anything else. And also to get his own damage in at some point.
I wonder, is there anything? Oh, actually, I just had an insane thought. In some bizarro world, if he grabs a sacrificial pact from his swashbuckler, that would be one way for him to potentially get back into this.
Alright, so Bill is going again to be. He's going to be a little bit less aggressive, try to trade in, get rid of the Gadget Stand. Gadget Stand's really the
Yeah, he's
only thing.
respecting the
Yeah.
gadget 10 here.
So what do you have left on Aroz's side? You've got you've got a lot of things that would have been better at on a different turn in a different position. You can get us another Swashbuckler and hope for something good, which I think he
He's
is.
going for that.
Let's see what he gets.
Demon Fuse.
That is not so great.
Yeah, that's probably the worst possible one, actually, because it only
Any
gives a
form.
demon +3/+3. The only demons are bills, and then it
Yeah.
gives your opponent a mana crystal.
It
So
is one of
that's,
the worst cards
I would
in.
say that's arguably the worst. All it does is buff your opponent in both ways.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a demon fuse here from Aroz on the 1/4. I think that would be the optimal play here. But no. Knife
And
Juggler.
Knife Juggler. This is just classic Zoo. I guess he's real. I guess in the
And if the ping
highest
goes
meta.
face here, is this lethal?
I think it might be.
Little reminder text there. Haven't seen that in a
I
while.
haven't seen that. That's actually pretty cute. All right.
Reminding us that Blood Imp cannot attack unless it's buffed.
Or reminding that
Oh,
when it has
stealth.
stealth, that it will
Oh,
lose
sorry.
stealth and gain the taunt. It doesn't
Right.
have taunt when it has stealth. Well, this is an unfortunate board to be at 3 life against with no real outs. I guess he's gonna play the Demon Fuse just to let it just to
That's funny.
say
I like that.
that's good. That's good. Like here you go. All right.
Aroz dead to rights there. Zoo looking pretty strong.
Impressive. So we got Bill with a win for Warlock and Warrior, and then we'll see what he gets next. He's got the Mage left, and Araz has got to win with his Rogue.
And his warrior as well,
And his
right?
Warrior, I think, yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's one of those particular situations. Bill's looking for a win here with his Reno Mage against two
Are we sure it's
aggro
Rangers? He
decks.
could bring he could be bringing tempo at this point.
You're
We
right.
don't even know.
You
But
called it. It looks like it may be.
we'll
That's
see.
looking like a
Yeah?
tempo. You called it. You know, like
Oh,
I said, we can never write Bill off. He could have been handlock.
could have
Wasn't
been
handlock.
anything.
I thought he was the handlock master. Handlock master decides to bring Zoo.
I guess he's playing the meta game of like, people metagaming him thinking he's gonna play all these control decks and then he just brings aggro to this tournament.
So far, I like it.
Now the question is, will tempo will tempo be enough here? I think tempo is pretty good against all of these little 1/1s.
It's looking quite nice. However, we do see the volcanic potion,
Yeah, that's
and
actually
that
really
that lines up
strong.
quite nicely against Bill's board. So
Yeah,
we'll have to see how
how it works out.
how that lines up. If Bill doesn't play around a card that he couldn't know his opponent could have, that although hitting that there is a little bit of
A tell? I don't think it's a
something.
tell. I
Yeah,
think I think
a
that
fan.
Yeah. I think Bill thinks he might get a fan, like trying to
True.
clear off a fan, but do you use it now or do you bring it out later? Do you prep into the Fan of Knives or do you
If it were me,
frost?
I'd
I would
probably
play.
toss the volcanic here.
I think that you can do questing prep
Ooh.
into the volcanic potion, right?
Um, yeah, yeah.
But he's
I,
not
I
gonna
I
do
do
it.
think that was actually the correct play there because
You get something on the board.
well there is actually one clear. I'm not sure if Aroz was aware of this, but Cult Sorcerer into that would have actually cleared it.
Yeah,
So Aroz actually played around that, I guess.
I
I mean, Bill didn't
guess
have it in
play
hand at the
around.
time, but wow, it's kind of nice how he drew the Arcane Blaster to kind of highlight that there actually was one clean clear for
Potential
the
one
4/4.
potential clear, and it's coming
Because
out.
Frostbolt obviously wouldn't do it. You're still going to be pumping it the following
Mhm.
turn, so
So now Aros is trying to get a big enough questing adventure that it avoids most of the clears that you can think of. I think you backstab.
grabs the Dalaran aspirant from the Swashbuckler. That seems pretty decent
I mean,
considering
it's a
his hand.
minion. You can play it. It's a threat. Put it
Yeah.
on board. Buffs the questing adventure.
Looks like Aroz may be considering prepping out the conceal here. Decides not to. Um,
I think you want to, yes. I think you just got to get rid of the questing before it gets big.
yeah, absolutely. You got to
Kind of
respect the questing.
keep the game going until you can get out your late game threats. I mean, if he gets the 2/4, if Bill gets a 2/4, then he might be able to start pinging down a lot of minions. But first, we're going to see what the RNG book.
Wow, that's a
Something.
powerful
That's
card.
something.
Doesn't necessarily line up with what Aroz has right here, right now, but in the event of a gadget's in conceal, it could be
Hmm.
extremely important.
I think the Miracle Rogue just wants to kind of hold off and wait. Maybe play another fan just to cycle and sort of get into your gadget stand, start the chain.
Yeah, it seems like he's definitely taking that slow line as opposed to he didn't go in with the conceal and the prep on his questing, so he must be saving those for a potential auctioneer draw, taking the slow grindy line of it. Ooh, Bill picks up the spell damage minion for a nice clear. It's a very nice top deck, setting him up for the Firelands portal
Yeah, the
next turn
Cold
potentially.
Sorcerer. So it does 6 damage. And Aroz gets a sap. He's got a handful of spells that would be very useful if he could draw a minion
And
like
there he gets
questing.
one.
Do you play it though? Do you play it and then you just like conceal it? Knowing that like it's turn 7? Or maybe
Yeah,
not
he didn't go
realizing.
for it before.
I think he's holding up. I think he tends to hold the questing until he can kind of. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I feel like with three mana, with 4 mana exactly, it'd be extremely tempting to develop the questing here.
Questing,
We do
conceal.
know, of course, that Bill can kill it with a flame strike, but it's still not the worst value.
It's not the worst value getting rid of one flame strike.
Opts for the slow line.
And yeah. I think holding is worth it against this deck.
Wow,
So now these Firelands portals just go straight to face.
that's a very subpar minion.
Yeah, that's probably. I always am very disappointed when you get the 3/3 off of the 5 cost minion.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Bill.
He's developing a hand that looks pretty good. Do you want to sap that? I mean, it's kind of funny because I don't know if the mage has anything that's worth facelessing. And
Well,
then
the
it becomes like a
questing could
dead.
be.
That's true. I think he's just going to get rid of it with the eviscerate.
I do think sapping is definitely a worthwhile consideration, though. Because if
It's
they
just
copy
such.
it, it's going to be bigger when you go the following
Yeah.
turn. You're gonna buff it with your own spells.
And it opts to conceal. Alright, and there's the Flame Waker. And Flame Strike goes out for that questing adventure. And that's tough, but I think the rogue still might be able to come back from this.
Yeah, I mean,
If they can get their engine going, he still has presumably one auctioneer. But it's just sort of like it feels bad to have to hero power turn 9 and play nothing with 5 cards in hand.
yeah, he's got both of those preps in hand. Aroz desperately in need of an auctioneer here.
And he's getting pretty low on health. And that is a real that's a better 5
That is much
cost
better.
minion.
That's probably more along the lines of like, what you're
What you're
to
looking
expect.
for, yeah. Besides the optimal, the average 5/5.
And I like Bill's line here actually to just fire Lance Portal him in the face and then develop the mana worm and then do that as opposed to maybe getting the Flame Waker on board, something I may have considered. I think this is better.
Yeah, I think the Flame Waker you kind of want to pull out with a bunch of other spells. I mean, you're going to have at least one, so you're going to get at least 2 pings off. And putting the rogue in a position of using the Leroy to have to
Now this is a little bit
Clear.
scary. It looks like he may be going for the Leroy and Edwin.
There you go. Yeah, the combo.
Yeah, trying to set up for lethal next turn. In which case, Bill is gonna have to find an answer.
Yeah, those Edwins pretty tough.
The Flame Waker potentially able to snipe the Leroy out of stealth
Mhm.
could end up make or breaking this game. It's looking like it's gonna hinge on that at this juncture
I
here.
think he's just to play everything, put it all out there, and go with the giant Edwin.
Oh, excuse me, everyone. I thought he still had a conceal in hand.
No, that's a prep.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
going
yeah,
for it. This
yeah.
is this is the play.
Okay, so Bill's got him here
Yeah,
with that top deck
it's
there.
done.
Pretty
It
close.
was a good play. It was a good
Yeah,
effort on Eros's part. That was
absolutely. I think he may have wanted to go in with the questing earlier on that
earlier.
one turn. I made a similar mistake last night that cost me. So Bill's locked up that series, right?
Yep, that's Bill. Bill's moving on.
Well, how about that? That's a way to start it off. Really, really unconventional lineup from Bill as far as what we've been seeing with a lot of the other meta decks using Tempo Mage and Zoo. Very shocking, surprising.
Does that make you want to play Zoo again?
Uh, to be honest, I may have to give it another look. It seems like it did okay against the Rogue there.
Yeah, and it might just be like a combination of his deck list and what he expected to play. I mean, who knows what it would do against the other control
It makes
decks.
a lot of sense. I think Zoo fell out of favor a lot due partially to the strength of the Reno locks, as
Right.
well as the fact that all of the shaman were all running double Maelstrom, double Lightning Storm. Now that the shaman have generally removed the Lightning Storms, it may be Zoo's opportunity to come back into the meta.
Hmm.
So it could be that. I
It
think
could be against like similar aggro decks that can just sort of get the value trades and then develop the board.
absolutely, and it's really Lightning Storm. I feel that makes it a losing matchup against shaman. Without the Lightning Storm, it should be around 50-50. So maybe it could be viable. Interesting for sure. Bill going with a couple months ago list of discard lock.
All right, so we're probably gonna end up streaming some other games while the bracket moves around. We got a couple of other. How many players do we have in this tournament right now? I think we've got around 25 and some late showers. It's a double elimination conquest format. And
Are you getting some legendary like thing coming in your ear?
no, I'm not. I think you get the audio of the
There's
game.
some like noise coming in my ear every like couple minutes. It's like legendary. I don't know. I'll just deal with it for now.
Are you sure it's not the voices in your head?
Yeah,
It could
actually,
be.
I should
It's
probably check on
legendary.
that.
Become legendary. It's Tempo Storm. They're talking to you.
Raynad, get out of my head.
So Lightning Storm, yeah, that's true. Someone in chat says that if you're gonna ban Shaman anyways, Lightning Storm is not necessarily something you're worried about. So for tournament play, it's pretty good.
Interesting and something I definitely had not considered until just now. Looks like we got a lot of WTY Bill fans
Yeah,
in the
Bill
house.
fans.
Make sure to check me out. Twitter at Max the Ripper HS.
Yeah, some shameless self promotion. We're
Mm-hmm.
just gonna go in there. Max is actually really great. We've been sort of floating around the tournament scene in New York City for a while and come across each other in various points. So,
Yes, even played some Overwatch together at times.
oh yes, the Overwatch, which I'm actually like. I feel like I wish I were better, but I just don't have the like the gaming. My gaming has always been like card games, so it makes sense that like when Hearthstone comes out that I get there, and I'm like, oh, I can transition to other games. It's like no, it actually requires like 8 p.m.
We were doing pretty well when we were playing.
Yeah, some good 3v. Evo also hosts Overwatch tournaments, and they are doing sort of a 3v3 tournament that where yeah for Overwatch. Not sure when that is, but it is definitely on the docket. And it sounds pretty fun. Like 3v3 is one of those things where it's like you get really, it's really anxious. It makes me very anxious to play 3v3 because there's just so much riding on the line, especially when the minute you die, you're gone, and you can't really come back from that. And
Absolutely.
every you sort of have to like you have your main line of characters that are really good in 3v3. Your Roadhogs, your Maze. Like Maze just like May can like 1v3 anybody if she's running around.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Zarya right now. She's my favorite to play. Big
Interesting,
fan of
Zara.
Zarya.
I liked her too. I like most of the tanks.
Tanking is fun.
A lot of a lot of support characters, obviously. Why is it in chat is in Chinese because we've got some great Chinese players. right, we're gonna take a quick break while we set up the next tournament, and we'll see you guys soon.